What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Today we've got a few benchmarks that have been leaked for the upcoming rumored RTX 4090 graphics card, the full-fat AD102 GPU benchmarks in the game Control with ray tracing and DLSS, as well as a GPU score for Time Spy Extreme. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. Also, there's a new hotfix driver from Nvidia, which you may want to download if you've been having issues in some titles that you've been playing. And also, Stray is releasing later today, and you can actually play it for free if you're a PlayStation owner. So we'll get into it. We'll talk about how you can get access to it and all that. But first, today's video is brought to you by keysfan.com and their software super deal, where you can get some of the best prices out there on Microsoft software. Especially with my coupon code, you can get half off of Windows keys, as well as 62% off on Microsoft Office products like Windows 10 Pro, Windows 11 Pro, and Office 2019 Professional Plus, and Office 2021 Professional Plus. And they've also got a bundle with Windows 10 Pro and Office 2019 in the same package. To save money on Windows 10 Pro, just go ahead and add the key to your cart, which starts off at $15.17. But once you get into your cart, you can go ahead and apply my discount code at checkout, YTB50, and that will give you a shocking 50% off, bringing the price down to just over $7 at $7.58. And when you proceed to checkout, you can pay with either a credit card or PayPal, whichever one happens to fit your needs. And this also applies to Microsoft Office products, but again, you're going to get 62% off on Office products with the code YTB62 at checkout. Applying that to the $67.40 price, Office 2019 brings the price down to a stunning $25.61. So I don't know what you're waiting for. If you need your software keys, head over to keysfan.com right now and be sure to use those coupon codes at checkout. YTB50 on Windows products for half off, and YTB62 for 62% off on Microsoft Office products. But first up, let's start off with our title story, the RTX 4090, which was rumored to be announced sometime around the end of August, and then maybe we'd see it launched in September, but now there's also been rumors that it's going to be delayed until maybe September, October, especially with all of the GPUs hitting the market and so much extra inventory and crypto crashing. It seems like there would be a lot of reasons why Nvidia might want to hold off on releasing new GPUs until they can get rid of some of the excess inventory that they probably had honestly expected to give to miners, but now miners no longer desire. And especially once in September, when they move over to a proof of stake model for things like Ethereum rather than proof of work being done, they probably won't really need those GPUs anyway. But anyway, we'll be probably seeing the RTX 40 series at some point this year, and we've got some of our first leaked benchmarks, like I said, in Control as well as Time Spy Extreme. So we have to shoot over to Twitter for that from AGF, who is a GPU veteran, which he defines himself as, and a hunter of fake leaks. He goes by XPGPU over on Twitter, and he tweeted out that he got the first in-game scores for full AD102, that would be the RTX 4090, at the high power draw mode. And we don't have a definition of exactly what that means. Maybe it's overclocked. Maybe there's just different modes for it. For the card or some of the early test cards during validation. Really don't know. But he says in Control at Ultra with 4K and ray tracing and DLSS, it reaches 160 plus frames per second. He says it reaches it. It's not an average. Don't know exactly where he's testing in the game, but he's not sure which CPU, RAM, GPU clocks, or anything like that, and also wasn't sure what a 3090 Ti would get in the similar game. But Hassan over from WCCF Tech actually tweeted out a graph testing on the RTX 3090, which shows it getting an average of 72 frames per second. So this would obviously be a massive uplift. Even, if you're in a less taxing area of the game versus another, still getting more than double the performance would be unlikely unless we were actually seeing a massive uplift in performance on the AD102 GPU. But of course, as it being a rumor, leak, take it all with a grain of salt. And I'm honestly not too familiar with this particular leaker, although he claims to have been in the business for quite some time. But I haven't really seen anything from him in the past. Unlike our next score for Time Spy Extreme coming from Copite7, who we've talked about numerous times on the channel over the years. He's been leaking out all the specs for the cards, when we're going to see them, about all the delays and stuff, and he's usually pretty much right on the money when it comes to GPU leaks, because he tweeted out as well, and this was published over on videocards.com, as well as the other scores for Control, and Videocards is actually very discerning when it comes to leaks and rumors. They're not likely to just post something unless they've actually vetted it a bit and are comfortable enough to post it on their website, and I know that from speaking with the person that runs videocards.com. So Copite7 tweeted out a GPU score, mind you, this is just for the GPU, not the overall score for Time Spy Extreme, showing that the 4090 was about 66% faster than the 3090 Ti and 82% faster than the 3090, getting a score of just over 19,000 on the AD102 GPU. And that puts us here with the Time Spy Extreme GPU score at around 19,000 roughly, compared to a 3090 Ti. Gets about 11,400. 3090 gets 10,440. So that is a huge increase in the score for a single GPU on the RTX 4090. But with these things pushing, people are saying like 600 to 800 watts potentially for the RTX 4090s. It's really no surprise to me that these things will probably be absolute monsters, and we'll see a huge uplift in performance on the previous generation. But of course, as I said, take it with a grain of salt. We'll just have to wait and see once we get these cards and start testing them in the next few months or so. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get some new ones soon, as some of those new games coming out later this year are looking pretty taxing. And also, I'd really like to be able to run ray tracing in games. And that's really, like, that was the takeaway, too, from the Control score, for the Control with ray tracing and DLSS, was that it jumped up to 160 frames, whereas 72 was, like, barely runnable. And that's been my typical experience, even with, I run a 3080 Ti, and my typical experience is that most games that come out, even without DLSS, I can max them out and run them absolutely fine at 4K. But the moment you put on ray tracing, it butchers it, and DLSS will get you to the point where the game is like just playable, but it still feels kind of sluggish, and it feels like there's a lot of lag, and honestly, it's just not a very smooth and enjoyable experience. And that's been my experience with the 20 series and the 30 series throughout. But I have a feeling, if these scores are accurate for Control specifically, that I think the 40 series might be the first GPU generation that can actually do ray tracing properly without completely butchering the experience of playing the game, which would be exciting to me because I really haven't been able to play too many games on PC where I've been able to put on ray tracing and actually fully enjoy the benefits of those amazing visuals, but also getting, compelling performance where I could still enjoy what I was playing. It just really hasn't happened yet, or it's been few and far between, to a point where I can't even recall any games I've played completely through with ray tracing on. And even with DLSS, I don't mind using DLSS, but still, usually that just gets you over 60 frames, and even sometimes you'll still come down below 60, even in titles that aren't super duper demanding otherwise, like the recent Loopmancer game that came out. That game, I get like 150 frames. The moment I whack on ray tracing, it's like 20 FPS, and with DLSS, I'm barely hitting over 60 in a side-scroller. So something like that I would love to see become playable on the next generation of cards, and I'm hoping that this is actually the first real ray tracing cards that we'll be seeing here in the 40 series from Nvidia by the end of the year. Speaking of Nvidia and continuing on with them, they put out a hotfix driver yesterday, 516.79, so I just quickly wanted to bring this to your guys' attention in case you've been having any issues with the games that were mentioned here with the hotfix issues. Most notably, people said that there was performance issues on the last driver for Red Dead Redemption 2 and getting lower performance with DLSS compared to previous drivers. So a lot of people are rolling them back, but this hotfix driver, as listed here, does appear to address that. And they also do mention Overwatch had been freezing when starting a match, so this apparently addresses that. Apex Legends, they've improved game stability there, and a couple other fixes as well, increased stability during gameplay for Halo Infinite. Destiny 2 got the game may randomly freeze after launching game or during gameplay, and this apparently addresses that as well. The Red Dead Redemption 2 one, that is something that I had been hearing a lot about on Twitter forums and people mentioning it in my comment section, so it's nice they got out a hotfix driver fairly quick to address those issues. So if you had to roll back, I guess you can grab this hotfix driver now, or just stay where you're at and wait for the next WHQL driver to release from Nvidia, and that'll probably be fine as well. If you really don't feel the need to actually update your driver, then stay where you're at. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Next up, before we get out of here, the new game Stray, where you play as a kitty cat, that comes out at noon Eastern today, so just under 3 hours from the time I'm recording this video. It is going to be on PC and a timed exclusive on the Sony PlayStation 4 and the PS5. So it's not coming to Xbox right now, but it will very likely at some point. I don't know exactly how long the time release of it is, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever. At some point it'll come to Xbox. But that just means it's not going to be on Game Pass. But I was happy to learn that it will be included with the new tiers of PlayStation Plus, which I recently got the middle tier because the top tier is, well, it's a fucking trash tier. It's the most pointless tier that there is. Premium basically just gives you access to demos and streaming retro titles, which couldn't care less really about the retro titles. And even if I did, I certainly wouldn't play them streaming over the network. I would want to be able to download them locally to my system. And at that point, maybe I'd get the premium. But honestly, why would I? So Stray is actually going to be included on the premium as well as the extra tier of PlayStation Plus starting today at noon Eastern. And PlayStation also rolled out a 7-day trial for PlayStation Plus somewhat quietly. So if you go on to their website or through the PlayStation Store, you can actually get a trial for this right now for a week, and then after that you would be billed, so make sure you cancel it if you don't want to be charged for your subscription to whether you get the Essential, Extra, or the Premium. But to get access to Stray, you would need at least the Extra, or you can get the Premium if you just want to try it out and see how bad the streaming games is over the network, which is objectively horrible. And here's the list of the full games that are actually going to be coming out for PlayStation Plus Extra, the middle tier, as well as the premium tier. It'll be on both of them. As I said, the premium tier, all you get is game demos and retro titles that are streamed over the network. All of these titles listed here will be in the middle tier, which I got for an extra $5 a month, which I thought was worth it, honestly. There was a couple of games on there I wanted to play, and I was ready to buy anyway, and it was going to cost me more than $5, so I was like, all right, may as well try out the PlayStation Plus Extra and see how it is. And so far, I've been enjoying it. I played a few games on there that I didn't get to previously, and it's only cost me $5 up until now to play a few titles. And I'm glad to see that this is getting added, not just for Stray, which I said is coming out, and I am looking forward to playing that on PC as well as on console. I might do a report on that here for the PC. But also, they're getting the Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, also Marvel's Avengers, which I've never really played apart from trying when it first came out. I heard it was hot trash, but I know it runs at 60 frames in 4K on console, so I'll definitely download this later today and at least try it. Also, they've added in a bunch of the Assassin's Creed titles, Ezio Collection, Freedom Cry, Rogue Remastered, Black Flag, Unity, and some Saints Row titles, and some other games in here as well, like Paw Patrol on a Roll. Who's been waiting for that one? I know I have. Oh, yeah. So, there you go. If you guys are PlayStation gamers like myself, as well as a PC gamer, I own both, and I love both equally. So, I'm looking forward to trying out Stray on there and seeing how it is. The reviews so far for the game seem to be pretty solid, although I did read something bad about the PC version. Apparently, it has some issues with compiling shaders when you first load up the game, and it makes the game stutter quite a bit, which is concerning. That tells me that it's probably DirectX 12, and they're not properly compiling the shaders ahead of time, which they easily could do, but they're not. So essentially, it's a DX12 game. I'm pretty sure it's DX12, because that's what that sounds like. That's usually when we see these shader compilation issues happening when new games are launched, is because of DirectX 12 being DirectX 12, which is shit. Always has been, probably always will be, until game developers just make them compile the shaders ahead of time. The games that do it work absolutely fine, and the game will probably run like a fucking treat on the PS5. So there's no reason the PC can't be doing it as well. The developers, for whatever fucking harebrained reason, just don't seem to get it. I don't know what it is. I'd rather wait 5-10 minutes and a fucking hour. I'd rather wait an entire day for shaders to compile than deal with 30 seconds of the game stuttering upon loading it. It's fine. You only have to do it once unless you update the game or a driver. So just let it do it. And obviously, a day is ridiculous. That's not going to happen. Even on something like Warzone, it takes like 2 minutes to compile the shaders in that game. That's like one of the longest ones that I've seen, honestly. Besides Horizon Zero Dawn, that one's also pretty lengthy shader compiling. But still, better than having the game stutter. See or no? All right, but I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on everything we discussed here today, as I look forward to interacting with you down there, and I'll catch you next time for another video. Peace.